Welcome to Breaking the Chain, brought to you by Impel Talent. I'm Nathaniel Chapman.
And I'm Terentia Browne. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Breaking the Chain. Today our episode is around how to build your circle of influence. And we are really blessed to have Julie Surin in the studio today with Nate and myself, who's going to be talking to us about her experiences on how to build a circle of influence. She's a really interesting person, and I know you guys are going to take some value out of this podcast today. So just to introduce her, she has 15 years of experience in biopharma, 9 years in an international working environment. She's actually worked 4 years in South Korea, so I think she's going to share a little bit about that as well. She's a very seasoned professional. She actually works at UCB as a project manager, and she describes herself as a scientist at mind and an artist by heart. I love that. When you said that to me, I really love that. And she's often seen by her friends and colleagues as a social butterfly. And she loves traveling. She loves hearing people's life stories, discovering new cultures, and inspiring others to dare. And her motto is take the risk or lose the chance. And so when I heard this, I knew that she was the right guest for this topic. So with that, welcome, Julie, to this episode on Breaking the Chain.
Thank you, Terentia, for your warm welcome. I really appreciate it, and I'm really happy to be with you and being able to share my experience with all of you guys.
Great, thank you. So as we get into the topic, we always love starting with why, right? Why are we even talking about this topic? And so I think let's start there, and I think it's good for us to frame the why. Why do you think it's important for people to even think about building this circle of influence around them?
There are two quotes I like usually to use is, first of all, alone you go faster, but together we go further. So this is one of the really important quote I like. We are humans, and in our nature, interacting with people is important. And the second one is my two best friends, actually, both of them said me this quote a couple of times, and we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And this is a quote from Jim Rohn, if I'm not wrong. And my friend often remind me about it because it's really it's wrong. We are really influenced by the people we are around us, and we influence the people that are around us.
Yes.
And being able to build up a circle around us is first of all, is for me, we can see like some benefit like networking. So it can help us opening doors to new opportunities, and connect with new people. You can expand your network or the people that are always around you. And just an example, I guess I never had to apply for a job. I will be honest. I always get, and this is one of the things wonderful. I applied in a sense, but I always got the I would say the job description from a friend or from a colleague I worked with, or someone. So as you mentioned it during the introduction, I moved to South Korea, and the funny thing is I got contacted by a headhunter in US that got my summary from a friend of mine. And I always remember when I got this email, I was at a concert waiting for the band to play, and then I just checked my email before, like, oh my gosh, an opportunity is South Korea. And that was one of my dreams, to work abroad since I'm really young, mainly in Asia. And then I realized that, oh my God, that's a wonderful opportunity. Why not? And then I just replied and I said, yeah, why not? And I got the interviews one by one. And then I ended up in South Korea. But initially, it came from a friend who made a reference for me. And even without asking me, actually, that's the funny thing, because he known that was one of my dreams. And that's why as well, when I say networking, it can be your friend, it can be colleagues, it can be even strangers sometimes,
Yes.
You open doors to new opportunity and you can connect with new people.
I just to add on what you were saying, the quote you spoke about, you are the average of the five people that you're around. It's something that my circle of friends we always talk about, and we always think about how are we building each other up. And so when we talk about networking, it's not only about what can I get from that other person, but what can I also give? Right. So, because when you're in a circle, it's not hierarchical. It's a circle. We all in that circle together. And so, I think I love that quote of thinking about that. Right. The people that we are around actually builds us up, and we get to build them up. Our attitudes towards them, the way we speak, the way we encourage them to dream bigger. We may be even asking them about their dreams. I remember a story of my circle of friends. We went to Mallorca, and on that trip, one of my friends said, "Okay, we're all sitting on the beach now, and let's." He literally printed out pieces of paper, and on the top was my 100 big dreams, and we each had to start writing down our 100 big dreams. Right? He came prepared for that, but it really pushed us because from that one exercise, I'm actually living a dream that I wrote down on that beach in Mallorca in 2018. Because when you write it down, when you discuss it with people around you, it starts becoming reality. It starts becoming, wow, this is actually possible because they start inputting in your life. What do you think,
I
Nate?
love that. I love that so
Yeah.
much, T. And you gave us a lot to break down there, Julie, right off the bat. And
Yeah.
I love those two quotes, and the quote, the "go alone to go faster, together we go together." T and I talk about that all the time, and the African
Yeah.
proverb, and I totally resonate with that. I think as you were saying all these things, the thing that came to me or resonated with me was Dunbar's number, which is the idea that humans can only maintain social relationships with about 150 people because of the neocortex
Mm.
of our brain. And this was done by Professor Robin Dunbar, who studied primates and the correlation
Mm.
between primate groups and the size of their brains. And this leads to this feeling of we talk about the five people that are closest to us in the sum. And I love that, Julie. A lot of big entrepreneurs and podcasts that I listen to talk about just how important those five people are, and that you need to get good relationships from your five close inner circle. All
Yeah.
right, best friends, closest friends, and I think we found this as you start to gain success or grow as a person, you need to make sure that those people are still supportive, and you are both in a relationship that is both giving and receiving support.
Mm.
And while that's not maybe the precursor of this episode, but certainly something to explore, is that sometimes those relationships can be strained, and sometimes we evolve in our close friendship knit groups over time, right? I mean, we've probably had different friendship groups at different parts of our lives that gave us different things. And, that you are really the sum of those relationships and those personal connections. But I think as we talk about the circle of influence, if you think actually the people that I'm building creditable relationships with, if there's only 150, and I know it sounds like a lot, but if it's, that's a much larger group, and he actually breaks it down into a few key areas, like your five closest friends, 15 good friends. So, and this is this is broader, but there's people you deeply trust or that you have
Mm.
regular interactions with. And then outside of that, you can have 50 or so strong connections, and then 150 meaningful contacts. And then outside of that, it ends up becoming acquaintances. So I think
Mm.
today, and I know a lot of the content will cover it, we'll be talking about how to get the most out of the limited relationships that we can properly build with the people around us,
Yes.
both in a personal and professional life. So, absolutely connected with all those things, Julie. And I think we'll talk about the part of the relocation. I love that you mentioned Korea, because you put yourself in a
Mm.
new environment, and yes,
Yeah.
and I was the same. I relocated from the US to the UK, and it puts you in an uncomfortable position because you have to build all those relationships again, or
Mm.
redevelop that sphere of influence, because all of your family and friends are miles away.
Yeah.
But I actually say to everybody that everyone should do it once. I think every human
Yes.
being should put themselves outside their comfort zone. And T, you did it moving to Sweden as well.
Same.
Um,
Absolutely.
but yeah, so it's a great intro to the episode. And I just thought it was
Yeah.
cool to give people perspective, because actually, why does it matter? Why do each of those interactions care? And why does it matter how much effort you're putting into each of those relationships? Because you have a capacity,
Mm.
Yeah, but something I realized as well, and I mentioned it one day already, is people usually see in the network word has a duty. I have to build up my network. It's something
Yes.
like I have to, it's something, and but sometimes you meet people, and the idea is just to listen to their story. And as you said, you have different layers in terms of a circle of influence of people you might have around you, but strangers sometimes can be a trigger. And again, this receiving and sharing, people often think like by networking, like, oh, I need it to take advantage of it or to get something. But you are as well someone that can share, that can give. And I have
Yes.
I have a story is I will always remember is I was in Korea for maybe 2 weeks. And at a point when you don't speak the language in a country, where you cannot speak your own language for even 2 weeks, it was like, oh my gosh. I met a girl in Seoul. She was French with a grandma, and then I don't know, we just chit chat, and I would say, I'm realizing my dream here, coming in Korea. We were perfectly stranger, except the fact we were French. So the fact something common tied us.
Yes.
And then I don't know. I said, realize, do what you want to do, realize your dream. We live only once, do for it. And then I remember a month or 2 months ago, and she said, you know what, you really inspired me. I get out from university. I quit university she was in marketing, and she said, I decided to realize my dream to work and to become translator with Asian languages. And then she
Wow.
switched to another courses. And I was like, oh my gosh, I did that. I didn't do it, but I'm like, I inspired it.
Yeah.
And then she said, I want to realize my dream as well. And then is where I think I started to understand that you have your close friend, your family, you have your colleagues, you have the acquaintances, but sometimes even one stranger person, one person can change
Yeah,
something in your life. And we don't
absolutely.
realize it that we can influence people. And this is,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's great that you said that I want to touch on one point, because I think most people who might listen to this episode will go like, I get this a lot. People are fearful of building relationships or asking for mentors, or because it is inherently quite uncomfortable. You're putting yourself outside of your comfort zone
Yeah.
and putting yourself a bit on display. And I love what you said there as well. It's giving to, I think you're about to make, but giving to relationships, or that is inviting people out for a coffee, or, doing things that are not asking,
Yeah.
but giving to build and establish relationships. And I think the first thing I get with professionals that I've worked with, or I've mentored, or I've coached, I've said, you need to really build and relationships with people internally, from a circle of influence that might be professional. And that does
Yeah.
mean you can't just come in and do your day job, or just work with the people around you. And I think it
Yeah.
also still collaborates with them. There's a lot of people that relocate, Julian, to your point, you drift towards people that you're like, right? Like, I fell in with a group when I moved to London, and I was like, oh, Americans and Canadians. And all the Polish people, these people naturally move to things that they feel comfortable with. But when you do push yourself out to make new friends, whether that's joining new clubs or there is just so much you can learn and different perspectives you can take. And it's a big growth opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to maybe summarize a little bit of the why, right? Because we said a lot of stories, and I hope, because we know people love learning from stories. But we spoke about the networking. So why is it important to build the influence, networking, and not seeing it as a duty, but also as a motivation, right? To go and reach the dreams, like the story you shared, Julie. Just being able to motivate someone else, and also maybe be motivated in that process. And I think another piece was around that support, right? Really just having a circle of support, that if you're going through something, like you said, the loneliness, it was the same for me. I was in Sweden. I packed my bags and went to a country where I didn't know anybody. But I had to step out of my comfort zone to go and meet people and get that support from the humans out there. And I think one more element around the why would be around feedback. So maybe asking people that how are they seeing you? How are they viewing you? People that you trust, to really get transparent and honest feedback. I think that is a gift. that you can use to better yourself. So from a self-awareness perspective, and I think the stronger the relationship, the easier it is to ask for that feedback, and the stronger the relationship, the easier it is for that person to give you the feedback, because it is that that two things. So I think that's would you say that's a fair summary of the why?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're building trust, aren't you? So you were just mentioning there, like
Absolutely.
it's that good trust relationship as it starts to foster and grow. But I
Mm,
think for
mm,
when we get into the purpose and the why, there's obviously all the good feelings that you've mentioned, the stuff that you can build
yeah.
relationships, change your dream, change your path. But also,
Yes.
I think people need to recognize that there is a huge ability to influence others. So there's a lot of
Mm,
influence for yourself and your own personal goals or for somebody else, but your ability to influence and get work done and achieve
mm,
milestones and get
mm.
promoted, and all those are tied really into your ability to foster and nurture relationships, right? So I'm sure we have some really good tips
Absolutely.
and tricks for how to
Yeah.
do that. That's why you should put yourself outside your comfort zone, because it very much is the difference.
Yeah.
Putting yourself
Absolutely.
out of comfort zone is a learning process. I mean, it's how you learn.
Mm,
And
mm,
and more you put yourself out of comfort zone, more you will get to your
mm,
dream. And I cannot,
mm.
sometimes it's not always easy when you feel lonely, you are alone, but that's why the circle of influence you might have around you might help you, pushing you, like getting you this kind
Yeah.
of sometimes just the impulse, like I told you, my friend that
Yeah.
just recommended me, like, go for it, go. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, but
Yeah.
you have always some doubts, and is fair. And yeah, and afterward,
Yeah.
when you realize your dream, you feel yourself more confident, more comfortable.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you keep going on after a while, like, okay, I did that. Now I want to do something else. You never stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started that way, and now I'm keep going on, like realizing another dream. And some of my friends or
Yeah.
even some colleagues, some people are like, you are crazy. Are you out of your mind? But you can keep going yourself, like, what are you doing that? And then I have always some people like, no, go for it. And then yeah, this is, yeah, going out of the comfort zone is a great gift to grow and to help others growing.
Yeah.
I,
So
I think
good.
it's interesting you mentioned I don't know if this is worth exploring a little bit further, but I'll put it to you guys. But I think it's an interesting one where you were saying some people in your close network were saying you're crazy or why are
Mm,
you doing that? And it's almost a level of negativity. And then you've got others
mm.
that are building you up and pushing you to do things. And I think that's been one of the tougher things as you start to evolve or grow,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
deciding who you want to keep into that inner circle,
Yep.
because that
Mm.
negativity can be so draining. There can
Yes.
be things that I've noticed even as rising as a professional, if I find that people are upset or because you read the room, right? Like, because sometimes
Mm.
you want to get really excited about something you're working on, but other people are not coming with you on that journey, and it can turn into negativity, and you go and you are the sum of it, and it can really push you back or stop you from taking the leap of faith, which could be something as small as relocating to a new country, and it could be as big as, I don't want to say small, that's still a big move, but or it could be going and starting a new business, or taking a leap into a totally, like for you, Julie, to do something like I want to fly planes, or
Mm,
and it is important that the people around you are supportive and are
mm.
giving you that headspace, because you're already going to have imposter syndrome and self-doubt and worry on your own. We're all susceptible to it, right?
I will be
Yes.
honest, I have the imposter syndrome every day. You know what I mean? It's something I have it,
Yeah.
and I think it's natural to get it. And
Yeah. Yeah.
well, you have to question yourself, but you don't have to give up. This is what I mean.
Mm,
I question myself all the
Mm,
time. When I
mm,
had the possibility to move to Korea, like, am I good enough in English? Am I the good person, the right person to go there?
mm,
Will I be good enough I asked myself 100 questions, but this is where I do feel I should go to.
mm, mm,
And one of the quotes you mentioned from me, Terentia, is the quote that made me realize that I have to go to Korea. This is my pathway. Is, what do you
mm,
prefer? Take the risk or lose your chance? And that
mm,
I stopped thinking, I'm like, I have to go. I'm not maybe good
mm,
in everything. I'm not maybe, like 100% ticking all the boxes to go there, but I want to make the try and I don't want to give up. And I went there.
I see.
I got a lot of people like, even my close family, some of the people they say, oh, you are selfish. Why are you going there? You will let us behind. I'm like, my close family, like, but I'm like, no, this is what I want to do for me. This is my dream. I want to do it. I had doubts. Of course, it's normal. And then some people they actually, people they bring in you their own fears. You know what I mean? When my
Yes.
family said, oh,
Yes.
you are selfish, no, this is maybe them that wanted to keep me with them, or some people they were like, why are you quitting a permanent job for a 3 years job in South Korea? You will never stay ever. I'm like, yeah, but this is where I want to go. And then don't give up. I and you mentioned it. Yeah, I want to become a pilot. That was my childhood dream. I want to fly planes. And then some people they're like, oh my gosh, but it's difficult or it will cost you a lot of money. And then, but I have big dream. I always dream high. Defy gravity.
Yeah.
Always try to defy gravity because
Love
if
that.
you don't, yeah, you go for it. My dream, I wanted to be an astronaut. I love aerospace, and then I apply actually to be an astronaut at the ESA in 2021 when they tried to to got news one. I'm like, let's have a try. I know I will not succeed, but maybe the process itself will help me to learn about myself. And this is what
Wow.
happened. I was in South Korea. I had to look for a medical hospital to get a certificate to apply to be astronaut, and then, but the process itself in a country I could not speak the language. To find a hospital, I called a friend that was actually a pilot in Air Korea. I'm like, I need this certificate. I know you go to this aeronautic hospital. Can you help me? And then when we say circle and influence, I realized that I was able to find a way to achieve something. I
Yes.
didn't get to become an astronaut, of
Yes.
course, but it was just a
Yes.
step and I was already happy with it. And then
Yeah.
what I want to say to people, don't give up. Don't listen
Absolutely.
to old people, negative people. They have their own
Yeah.
fears. Never give
Yeah.
up. Go for
Yeah.
it. You will
Yeah.
have support of some other people that will support you in what you want. And try. If you fail, it's
Yeah.
fine. Try again
Yeah.
or try something else.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think what you were saying, like where can people get started? I think the first step is even just starting with the dream, like identify what are the goals you have. Like you said, I want to apply to be an astronaut, but I needed a medical clearance. So you're now then looking, okay, that's where I want to be. Who in my circle, who do I need to get to know to be able to get to that point? So there's a reason why. So we're not just saying just build for the sake of building, but if you can start with identifying what is that goal you're trying to achieve. And I think it would be good for you to tell the story of Lewis Hamilton. I know you shared it with me.
I love
Yeah.
it. I really, so first of all this kind of mechanics field, I love it, like aeronautic, aerospace, and Formula
Yeah.
One.
I'm
I
giving a
love,
Yeah.
feeling.
yeah, I love it. And then and then I do like Lewis Hamilton because I mean this year he announced that he joined Ferrari. And then actually it took him 30 years to finally be able to race with Ferrari.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think he started racing at 7 or 10 years old, and he didn't have, his family didn't have that much money. And then he built up himself. He never gave up. He trained and he never gave up. And then after 30 years, he finally realized his dream to be able to race with Ferrari. I mean,
Mm.
he, he never gave up. And
Yeah.
that's why he had his supporters, of course, family members, friends, and the people around him, but he never gave up. And then
Yeah.
that's amazing. And that's why I really like to take him as example because he has one dream. It can
Yeah.
take you like maybe a year, 5, 10, 20, 30.
Yeah.
And you might
Yeah.
fail, you can fail, but just keep going on and you
Yeah.
can make it at a point.
I think, Julie, you're touching on a point of he's probably surrounded himself with the right people, because you can't go to
Yes.
racing for Ferrari. I mean, I know the people of friends of mine that are professional athletes or have been at high levels of rugby stuff. Like, you can't have that level of negativity, and they also purge to go, I need
Mm,
everybody to be in on this and support me. And there is
yes.
something there where you were talking about like almost family and personal relationships versus professional, because I certainly
Mm,
have almost two immediate groups that I use for different purposes in my sphere of influence, right? Like, I know if I had listened to my mom, and she's very supportive, but like, was she really excited for me to leave a really well paying job to start a company? She had a lot of fear and worry and nervousness, and because she cares for me, and it's love, and
yes.
it is
Yeah.
supportive. It just isn't what I needed. So I had to kind of not have her in that circle of influence, if it makes sense in that direct. But the people
Yeah.
I've built around me, whether it be my co-founder or my non-exec director, which I've sought out, or there's now
Mm,
a few people that own their own businesses that I seek advice
mm,
from and go for beers with. And I spend a lot more time with that group now than I did
yeah.
before, because it
Yeah.
needs my attention, and I need that
Yeah.
emotional and professional
Yeah.
support,
Yeah.
and vice versa, right? I give
Yeah.
back to that group and to those people. So and similarly, you can have the same for personal relationships, but then nowhere
Yeah.
to split it, because I think
Yeah.
there are people in your personal life that are old friends, close friends, but do I
Yeah.
think I'll get the sometimes the
Yeah.
support I need for my professional goals? No. And I don't think
Yeah.
it's fair as well. I don't have to have that
Yeah.
support from them. They will give me other support for my personal life. Um,
Yeah, I think what you both called out was around the mindset. And
mm,
only we have control over our own mindset. So I think, sometimes the people around us share or project their fears onto us. But again, it's if you are in a strong growth mindset, you're able to then filter out the noise. I think that is part of this building the circle is who are you letting into the circle? There's a song, Make the Circle Bigger. But I think that's to a point, right? That I think from a social perspective, great, you have making the circle bigger. But I think when it comes to support, encouragement, um, being able to realize your dreams, I think you need to be very careful who you let into that circle, because they can either make or break that dream, really. So I think it also from a
absolutely.
mindset perspective, it's being able to shift your mindset into that gear of where am I going? Why am I doing this? Again, coming back to the why. If that why is not clear, it's very easy to be derailed and detoured along the way. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think your circle of influence, and we've talked really a lot about this close knit group, the close five or the
Yeah.
close family relationships.
Yes.
But as that group expands, so at work or into that more 100, if your goal is to, like, you don't
Mm,
need as much of an emotional support from some of those people. I was just
mm,
coming, Julie, you were talking about that friend that helped you introduce you to that headhunter who got you into,
yeah.
the company that would take you overseas. That's someone that you have a good personal relationship with, and they're aware of the direction you're going, and you have
Yeah.
a good connection with, but they don't have to be a close friend. I think that's the
No.
biggest impact of that wider
Mm,
network. That I'm sure, Julie, in your role, especially if you're doing CDMO management and project management, there's this sphere of influence, which when people think, oh, this is really daunting, why am I building relationships with different departments? The
yes.
reality is, and you guys have touched on it, is the goal. If your goal is, I need to
Exactly.
run these CDMOs the way I need to, or I want to be promoted, or I want this job to be done to the best of my ability, it means building bridges with people in different departments and different locations,
Yes.
and eventually then you
Yes.
can influence people to ensure that you guys all
Yeah.
move in the same direction and work well together. And you know,
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
there are two things that as I said, I usually see with people that they don't try to dare communicating. First of all, people have a false idea or perspective that I say they see connection as a duty. So this is what we talk already.
Mm,
And then
mm,
the
mm,
second one is sometimes people I often hear like you should not talk about your dream or you
mm,
should not share
mm,
your projects, like, and then I often ask myself because we see this often on some social
mm,
media, like don't share your big projects, don't share your hide. I'm like, but why? I'm
mm,
kind genuine maybe, and I'm like, but
But
I
is that
realized that
negativity, Julie? I think it's the negativity that people have received and the fear that they get of sharing that stuff. Because I absolutely agree with you.
and then I'm like, why? I'm like, if someone doesn't like what I am doing, don't look at what I'm doing. I'm fine, like take care of
Yeah.
your own business or take care of mine, But sharing what I dream about is I could realize that some people could be amazed, and I realize often those people are the one who already experience a lot of
Yeah.
like other experience, that have been abroad, would have been
Yeah.
able to get in a new business. They some people that took challenges, and I realized those
Yes.
ones are the ones that are able to support you the most, even against strange. Sometimes they are the ones
Yeah.
that are able to just support you, like. And then you will always have negative people, and then of course, but
Yeah.
I'm like, that's fine. Sometimes it can, as we said, to have this kind of imposter syndrome. You say, oh, you can question yourself again. Me, I'm 40 years old soon, and I'm like, I want to be a pilot, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe I don't know at a point, maybe I would like to change my career. I have no idea. Honestly, I have no idea now, but I know I want to be a pilot. Maybe I will do something with it. That will be maybe my next step. But
Yeah.
some people might not like it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Say something else, but sharing it might
Yeah.
help you to bring people that can support you. I talked to it about some of my suppliers, and I will still remember one of the CEO ladies say, I want to see where you will be in 10 years. And it
Wow.
support, it helped me, like, to have a certain kind of, to be
Mm.
committed, because I'm
Mm.
like, yeah, I will do it. I will do
Mm.
it. Never
Yeah.
mind how many years it will take me, but I will do it, because even, strangers can, or the acquaintances people can help you to
Mm.
give you like power and then energy
Yes.
to make it. And you can
100%.
influence them. They're like, oh my gosh,
Absolutely.
if you are doing it, why can I not do it
Yeah.
myself doing,
Yeah.
So
But maybe if you can share some of your secrets, the how,
Love
Julie,
that.
like how, because it's well and good, because there's some people it comes very naturally. I think the how to make these connections, but for some of us, like myself, who's very introverted, I had to learn some tools. So I'd love to hear what are your tools that could potentially inspire the people listening today.
um first of all, I think people love to hear about other stories. I love people. I like to know how people get to where they are now.
Yeah.
So when I'm really interested in someone, just even at the first sight, I'm like, okay, what is your story? How did you get? I mean, I did it with you, Terentia. You remember
Yes,
we
I
exchanged on
remember.
LinkedIn. I'm like, I'm so super interested in your experience. How did you get there? And I'm like, and this is what. But I know it's not easy,
Yeah.
because people are shy, or usually people are like, oh, but if I do that, what the other person will think about me? But I'm like, I always think that if the person will be like taking care a little bit about you, like, she will or he will always say yes to share with you. And if the
Mm.
person say no to talk with you or to share with you, fine, next. That means this person is not
Not,
maybe
yeah,
ready
meant.
to,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then I just do it naturally without thinking about what the person can think about me, because I know I have this kind of craziness sometimes, like, but I embrace it, like, naturally. I
Yeah.
am who I am. And then, yeah, if I have one practical thing to say, dare to talk to people. So, and okay, I can basically talk with anybody outside, even if I don't know the person. But if you are a little bit shy, like, you don't dare to do it, try already inside of your company to set up maybe a coffee with someone you want to know more about his or her
Yes.
story. And then personal connection. Sometimes you don't need that much. I always try to remember a personal thing about the people I'm connected with.
Love
Maybe
that.
a dream, or maybe the fact they have children or something, something really special. One of my colleagues, I met a new colleague 3 weeks ago, and then I don't know, I said, oh, I want to be a pilot. I love F1 race. And then he said, oh, you know what, me as well. I love F1. And then I found the connection. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Find what makes
Yes.
people connected, even if
Love
you
it.
are not from the same culture at all. I spent 4 years in South Korea. The culture is completely different from mine, but I always be able to find a link with someone, and this is what makes people connected.
Yeah.
Sometimes you will not, and it's
Yeah.
okay as well. It's fine.
Yes.
We are not
Yes.
all the same, but try to find the link with the person.
Amazing. So I'd say you were saying ask, right? Because if you never ask, the answer is always no, right? But if you ask, and yes, it may come with a feeling of rejection, but like you're saying, maybe that person's not ready to share their story, but you are. So move on to the next person and keep asking, and not take that rejection personally, because I think a lot of times we take the rejection personally, or the no personally, but actually it may be that person just genuinely doesn't have time, or maybe does not really see the value for themselves or for you, but I think that
not
should never
mentally
stop you.
available as well. Sometimes people
Yeah.
have other problems, so
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's, I mean, if I give a tip for some achievable steps, I think you have to identify who you want to. So we talked about the dream piece, which I love. So what's your goal?
Yes.
We had an amazing episode, Julie, if you fancy it, where we talk about goal setting. And I do think people are nervous around sharing those goals. And we had it as an exercise even internally. And I think it is because of negative connotations for when they've done it before, or nervousness and scared to put themselves out there. But once you have identified what you want to do, identify who are the people that can help you achieve that goal. Right? That might be mentors, peers, colleagues, rising talent in your company, maybe client and partners you work with, thought leaders in your industry, etc. And I think you can start to leverage first your existing network and start to see who within my network, or who have I spoken to, made acquaintances with, that I can start to really propel that relationship with. And I think that's the first thing you said, Julie. Just go for a coffee with someone. You'll know these people already. They might have been people that you're in meetings with, or you're working alongside of. And I find that even just that first step, people really appreciate. And I know it's putting yourself out there a bit, but who says no to a coffee, unless they're a real jerk?
Yeah, and if they say no, that means they are not maybe interesting people for you. You might
No,
not
exactly.
with them. You know what I mean? And
A negative energy already. You're like, no, thank you. All right, good.
I met my best friend actually that way. I was in Samsung, and I recorded a video for Samsung that was broadcast in all the company. And then a guy contacted me and say, oh, hello, Julie. I saw your video. You are amazing. I like the video. Nice to meet you one day. And I was like, okay, I have some time if you want, okay, let's go for a coffee right now,
Yeah.
And then and I'm like, let's go. And then I met this person, and then it was a shock for me. It's like my alter ego. I don't know if you say it in English, alter ego. Really, it's me, but masculine, a male person, and I'm like, really, alter ego. And then we became. It is my best friend, and then is supporting me, and he's still supporting me so much in everything I do. He helped me growing in the person I am, and as well, we are sharing this really close relationship, supporting each other in difficult moment, in good moment. But it started just because he sent me a message on Teams saying I like the video, and I say, okay, let's go for a coffee. And then you never know but you might know what are your priority. I know for some people it's difficult sometimes to put energy in sharing with others, but get out of your comfort zone. Sometimes you don't know the person. You might say, oh, but what this person will think about me or whatever. And then no, go for it, because they might influence you, but you will influence them as well, most probably. And then don't think about what the people will think about. If they think you are crazy, that's fine. It's okay. It's fine. But keep on keep going, trying, and then and honestly, this way brought me one of my best friends in my life.
What a
I think
beautiful
so,
story.
But some people, I think it's more natural. I think it's interesting reflecting on this when we were bringing up this topic, because for me, it's very natural to build like I have never gone out of my way to think, oh, I need to build this circle of influence, but I've benefited from it for a long time. And then when I reflect on things that I've done, I've gone, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Like these opportunities have come up, or I've been referred business because of the relationship I genuinely enjoy building. I mean, I wouldn't be very good at my job in exec search if that was not the case, I suppose. But I think for people who are not comfortable, and that's the biggest thing. So whether and probably you have a lot more to leverage on this, whether you're uncomfortable with doing it, then understanding the why is important. And it doesn't mean about being deliberate, because I think that's where people can also feel a bit uncomfortable, is it's like, oh, I'm influencing people and I'm trying to and if that's not something that you want to do naturally, it's not something you want to push forward. But I think if you don't understand the benefits that can come with putting yourself outside of your comfort zone, then you can resign yourself to saying, it's just my personality. Do you know what I mean? That's just who I am. I'm and what do you think, T? Because that's obviously a lot more of what you've because you are very good at this now, but I know inherently I would never notice it. I would never even understand it now, but I know that for you, it's been a big growth moment for you.
It's been a learning journey, because I think for me is seeing the impact when I do it. It's been seeing the impact of letting people into my world. And also I've seen the impact of me being in their world. And actually it's helped me grow as a human being, being able to get feedback from them saying, because of that conversation we had, this has been the trajectory of my life or my career. People that I've mentored early in their careers where they are now leading teams. So for me, it's just, that's what's the fire that's lit in me. Yes, I'm introverted, but I found my authentic way of doing it. I don't need to copy how extroverts do it, right? I need to find how I do it. And for me, one-to-one, I know I'm really good at that. But if put me in a room full of people, I'm not the social butterfly that's floating from person to person in the room. That's just not who I am. But I've been in those rooms. And for me, something practical that I've done is I take a wingman with me, right? So I take a person who is really good at that, because for me, the initial step is the hardest. But once that ice is broken, I can talk. Like I can hold that conversation. I can continue talking. But the first step's the hardest. So I take someone with me who can take that first step and include me in that conversation, and we carry on. And they may not stay for that entire conversation. They may walk away, and I can continue. Great. I've met a lot of people like that. But that comes from my self-awareness. So I knew what I struggled with, and then I needed to understand, okay, what tools or mechanisms I need to put in place to help me to be able to expand that network. So I think it's, again, knowing who you are and what are you feeling comfortable. And again, I always say, keep coming back to the why. Why do you want to expand that circle of influence, right? It could be towards a dream. It could be just, I want to meet new people because I'm in a new city, whatever the case may be. And I think your final motto, take the risk or lose the chance, I think is equally important for us to think about. So just thank you so much, Julie, for coming in and sewing into this community of people that have been with us for the last few years now. And I hope, and I know actually, that they are taking value away from this conversation. And so we really encourage you all to take one action away from this episode today. You've made an investment of time to sit and listen. So write something down and take the first step. And thank you all for listening, for downloading these podcasts. We love making them, and we hope that you are enjoying them. And as we always say, if you have any questions, please email us at info@impeltalent.com. And we are happy to either create an entire episode on the question or answer it in the next episode. So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you in the next one.
Hey, thanks for listening. And don't forget to subscribe. You can listen to us on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcast, TuneIn, or even on our website at www.breakingthechain.online.